Oh boy, your school's facility, your physical plant. There's so much to where you're located, what the school looks like, what it's equipped with. It's a big issue. What we've learned over the last 30 years and speaking with thousands and thousands of parents is that the school's permanence is an important part of their decision making as to whether or not A, they come to a school, and B, they stay at the school. So if you're a smaller school, you need to have a lease of some duration to give parents confidence that in fact you're going to be there for the long term. In a larger school, parents are a little more discriminating. They want more facilities. They'd like to see the Performing Arts Center. They'd like to see the standalone gymnasium, not the dual purpose gymnasium Performing Arts Center. So how do you go about doing these things? You may be negotiating with a landlord for a new lease, or you may be looking to negotiate a landowner for a property purchase. Both are challenging. And there are fundamentals that apply to both. One of which is wherever you're going to locate yourself, you need to have the zoning or permitted use be consistent with that of a private school. And then secondly, you need to have buildings that'll meet the code of whatever the current code is for private schools. Even if the building was a private school 20 years ago, as soon as it changes ownership, it triggers a whole new set of code that's up to date that the building inspector will come in and ensure is in place before they'll issue you an occupancy certificate. Unfortunately, we've been in the position of having to help schools who have moved forward without having the approval to have the occupancy that they're looking for in their building. An example is a school that spent $750,000 improving their strata space would only be allowed to have 8 students in the school. They didn't realize that there was a criteria that they had not followed that precluded their ability to be able to fill this school to 125 students, which was the maximum of the floor space that they had available to them. When we were finished with the process, they were allowed to have 40, but that wasn't enough. Another school has bought a piece of property already and unfortunately is now going to have to go to the Board of Variance and beg to be able to use it as a school. If they can't, they're going to have to sell that piece of property. You don't want to be in either of those positions. So, as a subscriber, you have access to the ins and outs of leasing and buying, far beyond that of which a real estate agent can provide you. We are private school specialists, and therefore, in the 50 or 60 odd transactions that we've undertaken with our clients, we've seen a lot and can share with you now all of the intricate details that will allow you to save money, acquire your property, and actually be able to occupy your property at the occupancy that you want. In other words, if the school is large enough for 250 kids, you should get an occupancy permit that allows 250 people into that school, period. And finally, the cost of your facility. What should it cost you if you're leasing? If you're considering buying or expanding, what should that cost you to build or buy new property? And what's the process for that? All of these issues are discussed and available to all our subscribers. So subscribe soon if you're underway with a project and you need that information, or just if you're preparing for a project. This will save you thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in your facility search, improvement, and operation.